In the last year of production, the fourth season, a person from the production office came up to me and said, "You know, I've just seen the credits for one of the episodes, and I had no idea that you did Pilot's voice." And I said, "Well, that's terrific. Great, thank you." Took you long enough.
Prepare for immediate starburst.
Nothing can stop me from killing you.
You stole my life!
Just get out!
Starburst.
I was testing for Farscape for the best part of 3 months, and I would pass this very tall gentleman in the corridor. It was Anthony Simcoe. Anthony and I were actually testing for Dargo. The role that I was originally given to test for was Dargo, and we got callbacks after callbacks. And then Rockney S. O'Bannon came across from the States on about the third or the fourth casting, and Virginia Hay was there in that casting. And he mentioned to us the concept of, at that stage it was called Space Chase. And I thought, my God, this sounds fantastic. And they'd already been in pre-production for 5 years, working with the Henson Company. And I thought at that stage, you know, even if I got 1 day's work on it, or 1 episode, it would be a fantastic project to be involved with. So we kept on testing. Rockney went back and a couple more tests. And then I got a call one Friday, and my agency at the time said, "Well, I'm terribly sorry, but it's gone the other way." And I thought, well, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. A few days later, I got another call from my agency, and the request at that time was to see how I would like to, you know, work on this character, Captain Crace. And I thought, oh gosh, you know, great, I'll just go in and do an episode. They gave me the Bible, and I flicked through it, and I came across this whole section on Captain Crace, and I thought, oh my God, this person, sure, I'll sure as hell play him. So they offered me Captain Crace. And a few days after I was offered Crace, the office again called and said, well, how would you like to test for this character, this creature called Pilot? And I said, sure. So I went into the studio, and they sat me in front of a tape recorder, and they said, play him like a harassed accountant. And let's start from that beginning. And so I kicked around for about half an hour, 40 minutes. And they said, thank you very much. And I walked out of there, and the next thing is I got a call on that same day, and they said, you've got Pilot as well. So I was kind of doubly blessed.
Do not fire until my signal.
Peacekeeper ships in visual range. Moya senses they've targeted us.
We don't have any choice. Do it now, Grace.
Talon, fire at will.
And the funniest thing is, not many people knew I worked on Pilot's voice.
Moya is returning to the asteroid field where she last saw Talon.
What?
There, you see?
Is Moya unclear on the concept of why we ran away?
She insists on searching for her offspring.
For me, the challenge was to give him a kind of an accent away from Crace, and also find a different rhythm, because I think it's always really important that you find a different rhythm for if you're doing if you're doing vocal work, voiceover work, and characterization. You've got to find a different rhythm from what you usually do. And the writer's lines actually helped me a great deal in that. And I imagine him to be a little bit like John Hurt, a British actor. So that's where I kind of got my original inspiration for him.
Moya doesn't understand your distress.
What really happens is I pitch it in a higher range, and all they do is put a light filter on it.
2, 1. Weapons fire on board. Weapons fire.
Originally, in the first season, I would be on set. And that was great for the other actors because they were getting a live performance. But because I was working also on another set, further around the corner on the lot, it wasn't practical for me to be there physically. So they then decided that it would be easier to actually shoot the episode and then have me come in a month and a half later in post-production and go into the studio and watch the rushes up there and just voice it. So it would take anything from an hour to 4 hours to 6 hours. And then what also made it interesting was that I had to start, revoicing Crace as well, because the sets, weren't. We were working in a tin shed, basically. When it rained, you couldn't hear anybody. So the rushes, when the rushes went to the States, all you could hear was just the rain. And so we all had to go in and recreate our performances. Sometimes that was great, but other times it made our workload a lot heavier because, especially in most of my episodes from season 2 and 3, I would end up screaming a lot in those episodes, and I'd have to go in and do the whole performance again. And that was a real test and a challenge for us as actors. But, it actually meant that we could clean up some stuff as well. So I'd be in there in this dark little studio and just, revoicing pilot stuff, and it was fun. I wish sometimes it would be that audiences could actually see what we would do as actors. If there was a dark glass wall that you could actually see what actors do and the process they go through. It's very funny because you're only working with a microphone, and I'm really animated in there when I'm working with pilot.
Ships approaching! Peacekeeper ships!
I would always try and imagine John Hurt's voice. And when I was traveling into the studio, I'd just do some vocal warm-ups at home before I got into the car. And then I would kind of locate his voice in my head. And then I'd be ready, and then I'd go in. Now the interesting part, and so it wouldn't take me long to find Pilot's voice. What I did find interesting once was I was doing Crace first, and then I ended up doing Pilot second. And I realized my voice had actually dropped a note, and sometimes a note and a half. So I realized then what I had to do was, if I had both roles to voice, I'd have to go in and do Pilot's voice first.
We may never see any of you again.
Pilot, just be ready to starburst if you don't see us hauling ass toward you. You give Moya my love.
And her love to you, as well as mine.
His main task was to take care of Moya. Number 1, take care of Moya. And number 2, take care of the crew. He was kind of like a navigator.
Nearing the origin of Talon's transmission, but there's no sign of Talon. He may have fled further into the field.
What I would have liked to have included in there more is his backstory.
I want to be joined so badly.
I can make that happen, young one.
But the Elders have not yet decreed it to be my destiny.
I offer you the chance to make your destiny. Look up. And what do you see?
Stars.
That's what I offer you. Stars.
I dream of nothing else.
But, of course, with a 45-minute show, you're really packing in a lot of information. Crace, on the other hand, his journey and where his kind of involvement, where we started, being this cranky, I always call him Captain Cranky.
Talvo is dead. Struck down by a weak, pathetic, inferior being. It must be avenged! I swear in Talvo's name, Crichton, you will die in my hands.
He wasn't bitter and twisted, but he was certainly on a revengeful trail for his brother being killed by Crichton. But after that journey kind of petered out. What was interesting then was the relationship he had with Crichton. They would have been great mates, of course. It never kind of happened that way. And I think it was for a very good reason that it didn't happen that way, because if you don't have kind of a friction in the show, then you don't have a show.
I don't like this plan, and I never will. So you better behave yourself with Talon and Aaron. Because if you hurt either one of them, I'm gonna hunt you down.
You hunt me down. That would complete the symmetry nicely, wouldn't it?